Okay, so Moses, he gets back on track, and you'll read, if you kind of look back at that passage, that he tried again after Pharaoh's first retort, and the second time he said something closer to what God told him to say. That's good. And so what do you think happened when he stopped doing it his own way and he started doing it God's way? You know what happened? His situation got much worse. That's what happened. That's exactly what you would expect, right? His situation got harder. It got worse. And I think a lot of you have been at that place before, where you try your very best to do everything right. You say, I'm going to do it by the book, and life gets worse. And in that moment, you can find yourself thinking, what's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my work, with my effort? I want to be blessed. Where is my blessing? I'm waiting. Lord, is it on layover? What do I got to do? I want to encourage you in that. If you're experiencing that, you're not the first person. In Exodus 5, it goes on to say, that same day, Pharaoh sent this order to the Egyptian slave drivers and Israelite foremen. Do not supply any more straw for making bricks. Make the people get it themselves, but still require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. They are lazy. That's why they're crying out, let us go and offer sacrifices to our God. Load them down with more work. Make them sweat. That will teach them to listen to lies. So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt in search of stubble to use as straw. So I'll talk more about this in a second, but the gist of it is they would mix the straw into the mud and make bricks. Pharaoh had them building cities. The straw would provide structural integrity for the bricks as they were formed. Kind of like if you pour concrete today, there's rebar that provides structural integrity. So it helped them when Pharaoh took away the straw but held them to the same quota. He created an impossible task for them. And he was essentially trying to oppress them back into submission. Okay, so there's a lot of people, they become Christians and they expect that life is going to be better than ever. And I think it will be. But I've got some tough news for you tonight. Expect your life to get harder before it gets better. Can I get an amen? No one's excited about this part. No one's amening this part. But it's what we need to hear. Don't expect that following Jesus will make your life more comfortable. In reality, God will call you out of your comfort zone and take you right into the danger zone. It's not going to make life easier when you stop going with the cultural flow. When you go with the cultural flow and you do everything that your coworkers do, and you put your pride flag on display, and you put your pronouns in your bio, right? It'll be real easy for you, but it won't be better. It's when the Hebrew people started going against the flow, that's when Pharaoh increased their workload. And I think the Hebrew people were familiar with the routine that they had going. It's interesting if you talk to someone who's been in prison, there's a certain type of comfort that comes from knowing exactly what to expect each day. And I've talked to people that come out of prison and they're always happy to be free, but they'll tell you that in some ways it's scarier to be free. When you're in prison, you know exactly when you're going to wake up and what's going to happen each day and where your food's going to come from. And then when these guys get reintegrated into society, sometimes it's a struggle to deal with the unexpected day in, day out circumstances that come their way. So you have to decide spiritually, would you rather live comfortable as a slave or uncomfortable as a free man? Some of you, your life before you found Jesus was really hard, and I'm not denying that. But if you're being honest, a lot of the hardship was the result of your own sinful choices. It's not until you start following Jesus that you start to experience external spiritual opposition that comes from the enemy. So don't be surprised when the enemy doesn't cooperate with your new relationship in Jesus and all these things you're excited about experiencing. He's going to fight against you. Before you accepted Jesus, the devil didn't really need to fight against you. Do you realize that? Why? Because you were already on his side. Some of you are like, no, I wasn't. I was not on the devil's side. Yes, you were. Jesus said to the Pharisees, you know what he said? Your father is the devil. Before you became a child of God, spiritually you were a child of the devil. And so no wonder he didn't have to attack you, because he had you right where he wanted you. It's when you became a Christian that you became a threat to hell. Some Christians aren't a threat to hell, though. Some Christians functionally might as well call themselves Switzerland because they're neutral. Might be saved and going to heaven, but they don't do a lot other than talk. So they also don't experience a lot of supernatural spiritual attack. It's when you actually do what Jesus said to do, and you actually start to build the church rather than just benefit from the church, and you actually start to tell people about Jesus rather than live as an undercover secret agent Christian, that's when the enemy starts to attack you. So if the devil is attacking you and you're experiencing supernatural warfare, don't think that that means God has abandoned you. It just means you become a bigger threat to hell. Don't be surprised if life gets harder before it gets better, because the enemy will come and start to fill your head with doubt, and maybe you'll experience a setback or a tragedy, and you'll wonder, is God really good? Or you'll get mocking abuse from friends and family, and maybe you start to question, like, what did I sign up for here when I became a Christian? Maybe you'll even think, I was doing just fine before Jesus, but you weren't. You were just experiencing the false comfort of slavery. I think every day with Jesus is better than the day before, but sometimes life feels harder before it looks better. So all of God's people have to journey through harder on the way to better.